Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. And there's been an innumerable amount of teacher and student allegations of inappropriate behavior that's taking place throughout our country. And it seems like there's a high uptick of female teachers that are engaging in inappropriate relationships with either middle school or teenage male students. So female teachers, preteen and teenage male boys. And this one is extremely alarming, of a teacher straight out of New York City. And I don't like doing a lot of storylines on these cases, but if they're unique and interesting, then I will shed some light on them. This one is straight out of New York. Here we go. New York City female teacher charged with luring mentally ill student into SX and live streamed sexually explicit conduct faces possible life sentence. Here we go. 34-year-old high school biology teacher in New York has been arrested for allegedly luring a mentally ill 16-year-old student into multiple unlawful SA encounters. Ms. Sandy Carrizas Penez was taken into custody by federal agents recently and was charged with one count of enticing a minor victim to engage in illegal sexual activity and one count of production of child P, authorities announced. When the allegations against Ms. Carrizas Penez first surfaced in March 2023, she was fired from her teaching role with the Bondi School in Yonkers, which specializes in educating students with learning disabilities, emotional disorders, autism, and other health impairments. As alleged, Ms. Carrizas Penez, a former high school teacher, enticed one of her students to engage in inappropriate sexual activity and live stream sexually explicit conduct. FBI Acting Assistant Director in Charge, Christy M. Curtis, said in a statement. Teachers are entrusted to protect children under their supervision, not bring them harm. As today's actions demonstrate, the FBI remains steadfast in our commitment to bring justice to those who prey upon our youth. According to a press release from the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York, the relationship between Ms. Carrizas Penez and the victim began in November 2022 and continued through February 2023. During that time, authorities say Ms. Carrizas Penez abused her position as a teacher by singling out the victim for personal attention at school and leading him to believe they were in a romantic relationship. The newly unsealed indictment alleges that the relationship with Ms. Carrizas Penez and the victim frequently exchanging text messages that became increasingly sexual in nature. She then used her personal cell phone to arrange SA encounters with the victim and repeatedly induced him to engage in live streamed sexually explicit conduct during video calls per the document. In text messages allegedly obtained from Ms. Carrizas Penez's electronic devices, authorities say she referred to the sexual encounters with the victim and their live stream video chats as gifts. Investigators said they also recovered multiple sexually suggestive photographs of Ms. Carrizas Penez allegedly sent to the victim. After sending the photographs, Ms. Carrizas Penez would instruct the victim to delete them and repeatedly inquired as to whether he had done so, prosecutors wrote in the indictment. On multiple occasions while working on the premises of the school, Ms. Carazas Penez, the defendant, directed minor victim in text messages to obtain day passes from the school to be permitted to leave the campus, the indictment states. Carazas Penez then met minor victim at a location near the school's campus and drove minor victim to another location. On multiple occasions, while parked in Carazas Penez's car at various locations, including in or around the Bronx, Yonkers, and Staten Island, New York, Carazas Penez engaged in sex intercourse and other SA acts and attempted to do so with minor victim. Additionally, the victim expressed a desire to end the relationship when Ms. Carazas Penez induced him to keep it going by threatening to remove school privileges if he stopped seeing her. Ms. Carazas Penez was fired after school officials found out she and the victim were spotted in a car off campus and observed in close contact while in her classroom. Carazas Penez faces maximal penalties of life in prison on the enticement charge and 30 years on the child P charge. In an interview with the New York Post, the victim's mother alleged that authorities dragged their feet in investigating Carazas Penez because her son is black. It's the R of a child with a mental illness, the mother told the Post. As a society, we have to prioritize the safety of children who are mentally ill and boys who are SA'd. Carazas Penez's attorney, Mario Gullucci, did not immediately respond to a message from Law and Crime. What another incredible story of a teacher. Incredible, not in a good way, but in a bad way, where a female teacher ended up coercing this young 16-year-old male student who has mental illness and has some intellectual deficiencies, and coerced him into having this inappropriate adult-like relationship. When you talk about being that this was the highest form of predator and being predatory in nature, she is displaying this wholeheartedly. 34 years old. And I've done several other videos on these kind of female teacher or relationships with preteen and teenage male students. Of course, over the history of time, the stereotype has always been male teachers engaging in inappropriate relationships with female preteen and teenage students. But in the last few years, there has been an enormous uptick of 20-year-old, early 30-year-old married female teachers that are engaging in these relationships with preteen and teenage boys. I don't know if that psychologically, with these young ladies being in their 20s or early 30s, that they think the gap between their age and teenagers is very small and they can relate to each other, or there's some kind of delusional utopian gathering between a teacher and a underage student. But there is a high volume of female teachers in their 20s and in their early 30s that are engaging in this kind of inappropriate behavior with preteen and teenage boys. He wanted it to stop. He didn't think it was right at some point. His mother found out about it. He's already having some mental deficiencies and inadequacies. That's why he's at this particular school. And I think that there was a control in her mind, mentally, physically, emotionally, where she thought that she could control this narrative and never get caught. And luckily, the boy's mother found out about it and let the authorities know. He let his mother know. He had enough sense to know that this was not the right thing to do. And now she's possibly facing life in prison. Tell me what you think about this story on this New York City teacher, Miss Sandy Carazas Penez, who just got indicted for inappropriate relationships with a teenage 16-year-old student.